All right, folks, welcome to the Battle of the Bino Harnesses. We are going to pit the Catamount against the Kuiu Bino Harness. I have run 5 different Bino harnesses over the last year in my quest for a perfect Bino harness, and both of these do some things incredibly well and some things not so incredibly well. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. But first off, I want to let you know that I'm giving away both of these Bino harnesses. So, if you want to win one of these Bino harnesses, you need to belong to Mindful Reviews, the online gear review community platform I have built from scratch, where you can request reviews, participate in reviews, buy raffle tickets for gear I've already reviewed, and if you're a lifetime member, you get entered to win monthly draws for kick-ass prizes. Last month, I gave away a $100 gift certificate to Z-Packs. And this month, I'm giving away my favorite EDC pocket knife, a Civivi Elementum 2 button lock G10 handle. Now, I am going to give both of these Bino harnesses away at the end of the year. So you have 2 weeks to enter this draw. And basically, the only thing you need to do to enter is join Mindful Reviews. There's 3 membership tiers: monthly, annual, and lifetime. So you can join for as little as $5 if you want. And everyone who joins between now and the end of the year will be entered to win one of these Bino harnesses, along with all the current members as well. And this is something I'm going to be doing a lot more of. I'm going to continue along with the monthly raffles for the lifetime members, but with most of the gear that I'm done reviewing. And I also want to let you know, I paid cash for both of these Bino harnesses, and now that I'm done reviewing them, I have other gear to review, and I'm not a big hoarder. I don't need 15 Bino harnesses kicking around. So I think the best way to put these to use is to give them to people in the community. So again, if you want to win either one of these Bino harnesses, join up for Mindful Reviews between now and the end of the year, and your name will be entered into the draw. That's mindful-reviews.com. Now, I mentioned running a bunch of different harnesses, but I want to say that I've been running these 2 exclusively since August. So what I did was I bought both harnesses, and then I've kind of been using them interchangeably on different hunts. I've had 4 major hunts since August. I had a 2-week sheep hunt, then I had an archery elk hunt, followed by a rifle Colorado mule deer hunt, followed by an archery whitetail hunt in Saskatchewan. So I've been doing a ton of scouting and day trips close to home as well. So I just keep flip-flopping back and forth to give myself equal opportunity with both of these in the field. Before we get into the comparison, I want to lay out some expectations, because I will be honest, I have a somewhat impossible set of expectations from my Bino harness, and my set of expectations is not going to be the same as your set of expectations. There are drastically different perspectives as to what a Bino harness should offer. So for me, I'm literally looking for an all-in-one on-body solution. I want a place to carry my binoculars. I want one-hand access to my binoculars with a lid that stays open. I want a place to hold my phone. I want a place to hold my rangefinder. I want a place to hold bear spray, because I live in British Columbia and we're not allowed to carry sidearms, and I do a lot of archery hunting in grizzly territory. So having it on my backpack, while acceptable, is not ideal, because there are times during the day when you're glassing or going for a washroom break or doing whatever you're going to do that you don't have your backpack on. My Bino harness, from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed, is basically on my person. I very rarely take my Bino harness off, so it's the perfect spot for me to carry bear spray. In addition to that, I wanted to have some accessory storage. Ideally, I like to carry my archery release in there. I'd like to be able to carry some diaphragm calls, some wind checker, maybe even my tags or a couple spare bullets. Like I want a little bit of onboard storage to carry a small variety of items, a little bit of flagging tape. When you put all this together, I will tell you right now, I still have yet to find my perfect Bino harness. I ran that AGC Kiss Cub Max for years, and it's one of the closest things I've ever found to being an all-in-one solution. Now, that being said, when we're looking at the Bino harness itself, I've run several Bino harnesses that the actual lid mechanism and the holding and the harness are superior to that AGC, but nothing else really came up with that all-in-one solution as well. Between the main harness and some of these accessories, I did come up with a very close solution with these, which I will get into in a bit. But I just wanted to clear that up going in because not everyone is going to want that much from their Bino harness. So while I am still looking and I still haven't found the perfect fit, I think, one of these might be the perfect fit for you depending on what you're looking at, which leads to a bigger point that I want to address. When you're listening to my gear reviews and gear reviews in general, it should not be to have someone tell you what to go and buy. It should be to have someone share the experience they had with a piece of gear and give their perspective on elements that worked and elements that didn't. And then you should be internalizing that data to say to yourself, will that product work for me? Because I can very clearly tell you which of these worked better for me, but if we have different needs of our gear, that might not be what worked best for you. So while I called this the Battle of the Bino Harnesses, and while I did assign a scoring system, and yes, I came up with a winner, take that all with a grain of salt because my winner might not necessarily be your winner. Now, something else I want to share with you other than just giving away these 2 Bino harnesses is that Catamount has volunteered to give out a discount code for everybody who watches this and everybody who follows me. I want to be very clear. There are no kickbacks with this code. It's not an affiliate code. I, in no way, shape, or form, benefit from your use of this code. So if you want to use it, go ahead. If you don't, I don't care. I just want to be very clear about that because I understand that me retaining my non-sponsored status is kind of integral to me continuing to be able to provide unbiased reviews. So I don't want you to think that I'm financially incentivized by one of these harnesses over the other. They're just good guys. They like the gear reviews and what I'm trying to do with my channel, so they reached out and they said, if you want a discount code for your followers, we're more than happy to do it for you. So if you go to Catamount, you can enter the code MINDFUL10. And with that, you will get 10% off any order. So enjoy, use if you wish. So that brings us to the scoring system. So I ranked these Bino harnesses across 10 different categories: price, weight, colors, sizing, harness system, accessories, noise, access/lids, hardware, and storage. The winner of each category gets a 1 for first place, and the loser in each category gets a 2 for second place. The Bino harness with the lowest score at the end wins. So without any more delay, let's get into the review. We're gonna start with price. Pretty simple here, both in USD, $119 for the Kuiu, $139 for the Catamount. Kuiu wins. One caveat, that is literally just the base harness and frame. Doesn't get you a rangefinder pouch, doesn't get you tethers with the Catamount, gets you nothing other than exactly what you see right here. So 119, 139, Kuiu comes out on top. Now we're gonna look at weight. Again, just looking at the base setup, the Catamount comes in at 14.6 ounces, Kuiu at 12.5, Kuiu being 2.1 ounces lighter, it wins. Now we're gonna look at the colors available. Catamount, you're looking at it, Ranger Green. The Kuiu comes in 5 different colors, 3 different camos and 2 solids. So being that there's more variety, Kuiu comes in at number 1 again. Up next is sizing. Now this is a tie. There are essentially 2 sizes of each Bino harness. The Catamount calls it a small and a medium, and the Kuiu calls it large and extra large. But essentially you have a smaller pack and a bigger pack. Now, quick note of caution, if you like the forehead rest on the NL Pures like I do, you're gonna wanna size up in the Catamount. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm gonna get into more details on why later, I would almost just size up by default. I had the small at first. It was a really tight fit for my NL Pures, even without the forehead rest attachment put on it. There's some padding on the inside, which is quite nice, but it takes down the usable room and it creates some friction when you're pulling your binos in and out. So it would be my recommendation to size up because this is the medium, which is the biggest one they offer, and it's still a very compact solution. It's a little bit bigger than the Kuiu, but not by much at all. It simply has more depth, so you can still reach in. It still has, like, my binoculars do not bounce around in here at all. In fact, I find it even still slightly too snug with the NL Pures. I had a pair of Zeiss Victory 10x40s in here. They fit fantastic. One nice thing about the Kuiu is it comes with this set of exchangeable pads. There's another one that's half as thick, which you essentially place in the bottom, and it shrinks the height. So for shorter binoculars, like Trinivids and the Zeiss SFL series, you can make it a shorter bino harness. I thought this was a fantastic idea. I really like this. It would be great if Catamount had something, because I like the width of this harness and the room front to back, but the depth is a little bit much. And if you had a little pad you could take down that would just eat up like half an inch and bring your eye cups up a little closer to the top so they were easier to grab, I think that would be a great addition to the Catamount harness. That being said, because there's 2 sizes available in each, this is a draw. Now, let's move on to the harness system. I had to give the edge to Kuiu in this one. This is an incredibly minimal harness. Now, there's a couple things that I like from my harness to put this in context. Number 1, I hate when it rubs the back of my neck. Now, the majority of my base layers all have hoods, so as long as you pull your hood up through the bino harness and kind of flip it down on top, that's not so much of an issue. But this was one of my issues with the AGC. It had a tendency to ride up on the back of your neck. And especially when it was like sweaty, you get some pine needles in there, it would like chafe the back of your neck. I also like to wear my bino harnesses high, like up here. I don't like them down on my belly. I like them on my chest. I like fairly easy access. I like to keep everything close, and I like to keep everything tight. I don't like it low, and I don't like things slopping around. So I really liked the form factor of this harness, because the way they've got this kind of X-frame designed at the back, when these came around kind of on my upper chest, I kept the harness nice and tight. The back was kind of breathable, so it wouldn't get me more sweaty than necessary. And again, it rode nice and high. Now, I liked the Catamount. I would say the Catamount is satisfactory, but you'll notice here I've got some, wrinkles and crimping. And what that tells me is that the harness is being unnaturally forced into a position it's not ergonomically designed for. Like, see how narrow this wants to be by default? Like, my body is not that narrow. The back of my neck is like this. So this is having to come out like this and down. And if you look at the Kuiu, look at the anatomical shape, like the natural ergonomics, it goes out wide. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the Kuiu naturally spreads out to come around my traps and down my front, whereas the Catamount wants to be more narrow and my body is forcing it to go out wider, which just means it's not quite as comfortable. Again, satisfactory, but Kuiu is going to take the edge in the harness category. Now here is the category that is in some ways the most important category of them all. Accessories. For me anyways, because like I say, a lot of the base features are pretty similar on Bino harnesses. It's really the way that you can accessorize it and customize it to fit your own needs, where in my opinion, they really start to step apart from each other. So I'm gonna go through a list of all the available accessories first, and then I'm gonna give you a couple highlights and a couple of lowlights from each. So on the Catamount, we have a rangefinder pouch with a slight caveat. Their current iteration of the rangefinder pouch is sold out on the website, but they're redesigning that rangefinder pouch. I'm gonna get into the details of why in a minute, but I'm excited to see the next version that they bring out, but there will be a little delay. Now they did something else super cool. Whoever wins this Catamount harness, when the new rangefinder pouch comes out, Catamount is gonna step up and send you a version of the new one so that you've got it, so you're fully outfitted with the harness and you don't need to go buy an additional rangefinder pouch. They have a stash pocket that goes on the back. They have an inReach mini pocket. They have a bear spray holster, and they have what they call the Gen 2 cash pocket. So before we move on to the Kuiu, let's look at a couple highlights and lowlights. Okay, here's the inReach mini holder. Never had a chance to use it. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Everything connects via MOLLE connector on their harnesses. It's a good system, but I think there's room for improvement. I think it needs some refinement, and this is what these guys are constantly doing with the next generation of each of their products. Nothing bad or good to say about this. It is what it is. Up next, this is the stash pocket that is meant to go on the back of the harness. I think its original intent was a phone holster. I tried to use it for that. It didn't work for me. Where the shoulder straps are is actually too small to get my phone in and out. And I don't like having my phone next to my chest. It gets really sweaty in there and it gets crushed. But this is a cool, you could put some mouth calls in there. You could put some cool stuff in there. Had no issues with this. It would be nice if it had maybe a zipper attachment or a couple of snaps, just so when you leaned over, there was no risk of things falling out the top. But little stash pocket, not too shabby. Now, this is their bear spray holder, and I'm just going to be honest, I think it needs some work. I tried to mount it with the MOLLE webbing to the side, and basically there's only 4 slits here. So you are forced to either mount the bear spray below the bottom of the harness, which gets in the way of where I like to run my Gen 2 cash pocket, and also creates this kind of lump that kind of digs in to my last rib. Or you run it all the way up here, and then the top is not really attached. And in addition to that, I just found this kind of like skeletonized frame they've built not the most stable. So when I ran this Bino harness, I kept my bear spray in the, I've put a bear spray holder on my Exo pack on the opposite side of where I carry my Nalgene. And I took a marsupial bear spray holster and I've mounted it diagonally on the inside of the hip belt. Works phenomenal. So not a big fan of this bear spray holster. The final thing I'm not a big fan of, the rangefinder pouch. It was too small. The attachment method I did not like. It was floppy. Just not a win for me. That being said, they know this and they're redesigning another one. One of the best things about Catamount is these guys are super reachable, they're super open to suggestions, and they're pretty quick to iterate. Like, they're a small, agile shop. So I remember even in the time I've had it, I've personally been sent a couple different versions of things that they're working on. So even for the elements that aren't perfect yet, I have faith that these guys are working towards better solutions, which I really like. Now, I want to get into the home run. This, for me, is beautiful. This is called their Gen 2 cash pocket. I had it mounted through the MOLLE on the bottom right to here. And basically when you're wearing it, you've got this zippered pocket here, and you can put all kinds of stuff in here. You can put your release in here. I put one of my action cameras in here. You could put a protein bar or a little bit of bug dope, or there's tons of room. I love this. Is like this makes getting this worth it. For all the other like little things that they didn't knock out of the park, I love the Gen 2 cash pocket. Now, you can also mount it on either side. Personally, I don't think I would like it as much. Like when you open it up, things are gonna fall out and stuff. I think the ideal method is to mount it on the bottom. So in my opinion, they knocked this one out of the park. Moving on to the Kuiu. They have a rangefinder holder, also currently in the 2nd generation, an accessory pocket, somewhat like the Gen 2 cash pocket, a bear spray holder, an ammo holder, and a hydration rig, which is essentially like an additional kind of back mount that you can slide, like a camel pack or a hydro pack or whatever, any type of water bladder that you want in there, which is kind of cool for like scouting situations where maybe you're just going out for half a day and you just want your binos and a little bit of water. I think it's great. Could be for hikes. I didn't try that, but I think it looks like a cool accessory. And then finally, they have a phone pocket, which we're going to save for last. Now, the rangefinder pocket, to me, fail. I don't know why people keep making the rangefinder pockets so small. Like, this thing is tiny. And it's the only one they offer. Like, I don't know who's fitting their rangefinder in here. I have a Leupold TBR. It's either a 1400 or a 1200, but I would say like pretty standard size for like a small-ish rangefinder. Like it doesn't have a lot of features. There's lots way bigger, put it that way. And I could get it in, but good luck getting it out. And here's the thing, my test for a rangefinder pouch is that I should be able to get my rangefinder in and out quietly with one hand. No way with this thing. Like it's so tight, you kind of got to use one hand and then the other one, and big fail. Now, there is, in my opinion, a better solution with the Kuiu, which we'll get into in a minute. Moving on to the bear spray holder. Now, the holster itself, I really like. I like that it's fully contained. I think the bungee with the little grabber thing up top is fantastic. You can tighten up this Velcro strap for like longer and shorter bottles. I thought it was great. Here's the downfall. Let's just listen to this for a moment. Now, have you ever been on an archery stock? Let me tell you, this is the last thing in the world you want to hear. So the way this mounts is there's Velcro. Whatever engineer decided Velcro had a place on a Bino harness was either high or just didn't show up to work that day because it is ridiculous. So you mount it down here. Now, let's not get into what happens to Velcro after years in the field, because here's the other thing. Eventually, this is going to wear out and this thing's just going to start falling off. But until then, I will say it grips quite well. But here's the problem. I mean, is this going to be strong enough that when you go to pull this out, the whole thing doesn't just come off, for starters? And then number two, I can't tell you how many times I'm creeping through the woods, I'm going through some brush, and like a little corner of a branch, just like that. It's not like it rips it off, just like this. Do you have any idea how loud that is when you're trying to make a sneak on an animal? So, fail, 100% fail. No Velcro on Bino harnesses, and certainly no Velcro on your bear spray holders. Please just listen to that. That's annoying as hell. Now let's get into what I think they knocked out of the park, and that is the phone accessory. So tons of room to get your phone in and out. I run a phone scope. With my phone scope case and my scope adapter on my case, I can fit my phone in and out of this. Zipper, super easy to keep it in there. I run it on this side. And here's the beautiful part about it. This front pocket, rangefinder. And once you're here, that's enough to just keep it in. And you've always got your tether attached up here. And so when I'm walking around, I can literally reach over with one hand and just pull this out. It's that simple. It doesn't make any additional noise. You don't have to keep this zipper done up if you don't want to. If you want some extra security, you can even just bring it up the side and then it's just a little to open it. If you're not going to be in immediate need of it, you can close it all the way. It keeps everything nice and compact on one side. You don't have like a rangefinder flopping over here and a phone holder flopping over here. So much like the Gen 2 Cash Pocket for me was the home run for Catamount, the phone accessory holder from Kuiu, this is the best one I've tried. Hands down, blows everything else out of the water. Now, one other note I want to make is the attachment method that Kuiu uses. I think a lot of other manufacturers could take a note from this. So basically what happens is you take your one clip off, and then this piece of plastic literally just slides down over there. You clip the bottom, and then you run your harness strap through the back and connect it. And there's another little tab loop over here. So you get 2 connection points. That was the problem with the rangefinder on the Catamount. With only one connection point, it's floppy. So by putting 2 connection points on it, it has the strap holding it close to your chest. And it also means, and we're gonna get to this in a little bit, that it's very versatile. It doesn't necessarily have to go on a Kuiu Bino harness. But it was funny, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He reached out to me on Instagram when I was looking for phone holsters, And he said, grab the Kuiu, and in fact, you can stick it on any Bino harness you want. So even if you're perfectly happy with your Bino harness right now, but you don't have a good solution for holding your phone in the backcountry, I would recommend picking this unit up and just attaching it to your current system. It is phenomenal in my opinion. All that being said, because I think we had like a major fail and a major win from each of the manufacturers, we're gonna give them a tie for accessories. Now, I already alluded to this next category, which is noise. Essentially, unless you chose to open a zipper on either of them, the opening and closing mechanisms are fairly silent. However, Catamount is gonna have to win this category because this Velcro on the bottom of the Kuiu is just a fail for me, because if you do use it, one little twig gets caught in there and you get a noise out of nowhere, so no bueno. Now, up next, I created a category called access/lids, because I think there's two elements that go into scoring how your binoculars get in and out of your harness. There's the functionality of the lid. How easy does the lid open one-handed with your binoculars in here? How well does the lid stay open once you've opened it? And then number two, how well do the binoculars get in and out of the Bino harness? And so, again, unfortunately, I hate doing ties, but this was like the theme of this Bino harness, is that the harness would do something I really liked, and then the harness would do something I didn't like so much. So let's start with the Catamount. The opening function is great. The way it stays open is really good. I found the pocket on the medium, which is their largest that they offer, a little bit deep. So when I went to grab my binoculars, I was constantly having to grab them by the eye cup. Not the best solution in the world, because you can only yank on an eye cup so many times before you might end up damaging it. So having a way to shrink the depth of the Bino harness and keep those eye cups a little bit closer so you could grab the body of the Bino harness, I would prefer that. And then really the frustrating element was they use a pretty significant amount of padding and this kind of perforated material on the inside, which gives it a great hand feel, gives it a great sense of security. Like you really feel like when you put something in here, it's protected. Here's the drawback. If you have any edge on your binos at all, it tends to get caught. So let's take these NL Pures, for example. I use the Aziak Bino mount. It's my favorite Bino mount, but you'll notice there's a couple of edges on it. And so see, like you gotta like force this in, and then you're kind of hearing it like go down past the fabric. And then when you go to pull them out with one hand, like just a little bit unfortunate because it is a little bit tight in there to begin with. And then when you have this on, in addition, it kind of makes this diameter a little bit wider. And again, those sharp corners tend to get caught on the fabric. Now, this is not necessarily a deal breaker, but I'm not gonna lie, as you can see, it's annoying. So that fabric might not be the best choice for the internal covering of this Bino harness. Now, I wanna be fair. Here's a pair of 10x40 Zeiss SFLs. We're gonna put those in there. Boom. We're gonna pull them out. Boom. There's no sharp edges. They're a fairly compact binocular, and it slides in and out. And when the binoculars are in there, they don't bounce around. They're very stable. But as you can see, they're a little bit low. So the only thing you can really get a hold of is the top of the cup. You can't even really grab any of the metal. But essentially, lid is great, access not so great. Now, the opposite is true of the Kuiu. Now the Kuiu opens kind of well, but the way it's supposed to stay open is by staying kind of down on the front. And what happens is, just as you're walking, this just pops up like this. And then when you go to pull your binos out, your focus knob grabs the lid. So I found in reality, I was never able to take my binos out with one hand, which, like, if you're bow hunting is a pain in the ass, if you're in a very, tight moment and you need quick access, is a pain in the ass. Like, there should be a way for this to stay locked down. and then you could pull these in and out, no problem. Now, while the lid functionality is not fantastic, the access functionality is fantastic. So you have a nice open space, you have fairly tight material. It still has this kind of like, almost like an Alcantara or suede feel to this kind of felt material that they keep on the inside. Now, if we take the NL Pures, it's still a little bit narrow. If you open it up a little bit, they slide right in. It's not catching on this. The focus knob hits the front of the frame right here. So once you clear that, it's no problem. And for one-handed removal, they pop right out. So this catches on nothing. But again, this front frame does have a tendency to kind of fall, it stays too tight. So when you try and put these in, it hits it. So you do kind of got to wiggle it in there, but getting them out is no problem. So in conclusion, Catamount, great lid, not so great access. Kuiu, great access, not so great lid. Okay, let's move on to the hardware. Catamount wins this category. I really like the fact that they've used industry standard buckles. You can swap out anybody else's buckles. They've got auto locks on the stomach straps. Now, here's the one thing I don't like. They use these slider buckles for the chest attachment, like the upper chest attachments. And these came off on me several times. Like I would actually be hunting around, and I would look down and I'd only have one attached, and the harness would kind of be flopping open. Now they do sell an auto locking buckle replacement kit for $10. So if you bought this harness, my recommendation would be to drop the extra $10 and buy those auto locking buckles, because I don't like these sliders at all. But other than that, the full zipper here, good snaps, good cord, like all of the hardware on the Catamount, I thought was done quite well. Now, Kuiu has this thing for proprietary buckles, which I'm not a big fan of, because if something breaks, you're limited to only getting Kuiu components, which is fine, but if you gotta wait for shipping and you're in an emergency situation, it's like I could take a buckle off my backpack and use it to fix this. I can't do that with the Kuiu. Here's the other thing. This is the tiniest, shittiest zipper I've ever seen in my life. Like, why would anybody, and we're gonna get into this pocket in a moment, don't worry. This metal on this zipper is like microscopically thin. Like, I'm sorry, this is gonna break. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, yeah, not as big of a fan of the hardware on the Kuiu. Also, from reviewing backpacks and hearing stories of backpacks, the Kuiu buckles leave a little bit to be desired as far as strength goes. So them being proprietary is not my only issue with them. Last category, onboard storage. I would like to make a plea to Bino harness manufacturers. Can we please stop putting useless pockets on Bino harnesses? What is going in here? How are you? I literally can't even fit a finger in here. What is this supposed to hold? That's what I would like to know. It seems useless to me. And if it's useless, why is it there? It's there so that you can say your Bino harness has X amount of pockets and offers this much stuff. While even though if it offers it, if it's not usable, it's kind of smoke and mirrors. Here's the other thing. These side pockets, kind of useless. I tried to carry my wind checker in here, and it's so short that it would like pop the bottle out. This wouldn't close around the neck of the wind checker bottle, which you think it would, and then keep it from sliding out. But it's also so tight that getting the wind checker in and out was very troublesome. My question is, what is the harm of a little bit of extra fabric? Like if you're gonna put a front pocket on here, why not, put some creases and put some extra fabric up here? It would stick out like a half an inch. Who cares? And that way when you undid this zipper, you would have an actual pocket that opened. Or maybe you could have the zipper come across the middle of it like it does with the stash pockets and stuff. I don't understand why more Bino harness. I don't see any Bino harness companies doing that, and I don't understand why. Now, we're going to move over to the Catamount, which is better to some degree. They at least use some stretchy pocket material. These are very practical for having your mouth calls, your diaphragm calls in. But again, this pocket here, it doesn't really serve a whole lot of purpose. Like once you put your binoculars in here and you have this on your chest, you could maybe fit your tag in here. Like anything you put in there has to be flat. Maybe your ID and your tag, that would be about it. And I just don't see why you couldn't have had a couple creases here and had this pocket come out another 3/4 of an inch. And then when you open this, had like a legitimate pocket that you could put your release in or some other stuff, and you could actually have access to get in there and pull it out. So the onboard storage is better on the Catamount, but I wouldn't say it's phenomenal. The saving grace is the phone accessory pocket with the Kuiu and the Gen 2 cash pocket with the Catamount. That kind of solves that problem for you of having onboard storage. But I still think if you're gonna go to the trouble of having pockets on a Bino harness, let's use a little bit of extra fabric and let's have those pockets actually serve a purpose. Okay, there we go. All the categories done. How did the score actually fall out? So Kuiu wins with 13 points and Catamount is a very close second with 15 points. Now, I want to point out that Kuiu got 3 points for price, weight, and color. And let's look at that. The price was only $20 cheaper. Weight was 2.1 ounces on a Bino harness. And the color options were because they serve 5 colors instead of 1. And most of you probably don't care what color your Bino harness is. So when it comes to the functionality of the two Bino harnesses, they basically tied. So I just want you to take that score with a grain of salt. However, I do think it's fair to tell you what the final score was. So what was my experience in the field with these two Bino harnesses and what's my recommendation moving forward? Well, first, let me tell you what I actually found to be the best combination for me in the field. It was the Catamount harness. I couldn't get over the lid closing mechanism with the bigger binoculars on the Kuiu. With the Gen 2 cash pocket on the bottom and the Kuiu phone holder on the side. And I gotta tell you, man, this was a killer combo. I would say I liked it better than my AGC. The AGC is not front opening. This is front opening. This is significantly narrower than the AGC. So I had the ability to carry everything I needed. Everything was close at hand. You know, the harness on the Kuiu, fair enough, was a little more comfortable, but the Catamount was livable. And I would make a suggestion that they look at the ergonomics of those harness straps moving forward. But ultimately, after many hunts and lots of days in the field, this was the package I put together, and this served me extremely well and was pretty affordable. Like $139 for this. I don't know how much this is, like $30 maybe, and this is like $50. I don't know. But overall, it was pretty affordable. The only other combo I've seen that I'm as interested in was the FHF, and you're gonna spend like 600 Canadian by the time you outfit a complete rig. There's also a new phone holster from Marsupial, which I need to go look at and see how well it fares against this one. Because currently, this is the winner right now for phone holders, in my opinion. Now, the one last note I want to make, and I don't want this to come across as Kuiu bashing, because to be honest, I couldn't really care what brand you want to run. But I do want to give a note to the customer experience difference between these two companies. I can tell you this with certainty, if you buy a product from Catamount, they will give a shit. If there's something wrong, they will fix it. They're constantly improving their products, and they're good dudes. They're 3 dudes, they hunt, they know what they're doing, they're designing their own products, they're making their own products. I would say they're still a fairly newer company. I don't think they've got everything completely refined yet, but I think they're well on their way. But you are spending money with a company that cares. And I think that should be noted. Like, I think that's something we should be paying more attention to. It's not the case with Kuiu. Like, I've asked pretty simple questions of some Kuiu customer service and their support and gotten like Flat out rude answers. And not like influencer questions, not asking for free gear, like normal, regular stuff. I've also heard some horror stories about warranties lately with Kuiu. I don't have any experience with myself, so take that with a grain of salt. I do want to say, this is probably one of the most affordable, most compact, well-built, comfortable Bino harnesses I have ever worn. So if you run smaller binos like 8s or 10s, and you don't run a lot of accessory pockets and you're looking for a real like minimalist form factor to stay light and quick, you're gonna have a hard time finding something better than this Kuiu. So yeah, the company itself is not my favorite, but I wanna be fair and unbiased as well. And I do think, especially for the price, this is a really good product. So there you have it. My experience, take it for what it's worth. I think these are both reasonable options depending on what you're looking for. I'm still on the quest to find my perfect Bino harness. Who knows, maybe we'll have the Mindful Hunter Bino harness someday. I think I just wouldn't do that on principle. To be honest, there are so many people making binocular harnesses right now. It is the last thing that I want to do. But maybe I'll work with, somebody will show some interest, because I do think there's still room for innovation in this space. And I want to remind you, giving both of these away, the only thing you need to do is go and join Mindful Reviews by the end of the year. And then everyone who's a member will get thrown into a hat, and I will pick 2 winners, 1 for each of these units. And I'll send you all the accessories I have for each, and you'll get an updated rangefinder pouch from Catamount once they release it. In addition to that, if you want to go buy a Catamount harness, use code MINDFUL10. I get nothing. They just want it to be good guys. So as always, if you guys could take a moment, bump this video up in the algorithm, like, comment, share, subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or concerns about the video or anything else, drop it in the comments section below. And until next time, thank you for tuning in.